Ugh. And so...
Our tyrannical student council president has given Sojiro an order. Make friends with Alice or die.
Also, go to bed, Scrub Lord. No,
Well, yeah,
I will not
now.
show you around the house.
Yeah, that too.
Also, either stay in the drawing room or your bedroom, or Alice might straight up kill you.
It's a possibility, yes.
So, thanks, Aoko. Super helpful.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, he'll work it out.
Yeah, I suppose he will.
Yeah, that sums it up.
He unconsciously clenched the hand he had raised. Left all alone, he was at a complete loss.
Yep.
Then, as if to encourage him,
Oh.
with the sound of lightly fluttering wings, a blue robin appeared out of nowhere.
How helpful.
The tiny, chubby bird innocently looked Sojiro up and down. The blue robin, a bird said to bring happiness according to folklore, flapped its little wings as if to cheer him on.
Huh.
And then it turned off the lights.
Oh.
Actually, it literally turned off the lights.
Wow.
I was kidding, but...
Yeah, the bird flicked the lights off on him. Damn.
Leaving Sojiro alone in the drawing room, Aoko returned to her bedroom. She closed the door, and, as she sat on her bed, she was overcome by an unexpected wave of exhaustion. Sojiro had no way of knowing, but she had been preparing for war.
Oh boy.
In the event that Alice impulsively pulled out a ploy, Aoko had to be ready to react in an instant. She sighed heavily, but not from the fatigue she felt at fighting with Alice.
Hmm.
ちょっと突っぱねすぎたか
Nah, he'll be fine.
Yeah, tough love,
She frowned a dejected frown. What weighed on Aoko's mind was not Alice.
でも甘くするのはあいつのためにならないし
Correct.
Right,
基
yeah.
本おとなしくしてもらった方がいいわけだし
It would be trouble if he wandered around like he owned the place, after all. The safest thing for him would be if he holed up in his room, too scared out of his wits to leave it.
Yeah.
青崎は味方だなんて勘違いされても困るしね
Because I'm definitely not interested in doing that, Baka.
Totally, yep.
アリス同様人手なし扱いされた方が楽だ
Would you, though? She nodded to herself, agreeing with her take on the situation, because it was hers.
Yeah.
It would have been odd if she didn't agree with her own take. For the most part, it was a sound plan.
Kinda.
If there were a problem, it would be this.
すまない青崎一つ聞きたいことがあるんだが
Bruh,
You just went right to her room?
You
How did you
can't-
even know that?
you can't just go to a girl's room like that. Okay. This is a new angle that we've got on this room.
Well, we've seen the guitars,
Yeah, but we've not seen the...
desk posters.
What the fuck are those egg-looking things in the box by the wall?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time telling. Maybe they're actually eggs. I don't know.
Also, just Aoko casually having both an acoustic and electric guitar in
Yeah,
here.
with an amp and
With an
headphones.
amp and stereo headphones. Like, I'm going to be very upset if that is not addressed at some point. If those are not made use of. Like,
Hopefully it comes up.
if those are not Chekhov's guitars, I'm going to be very sad. And then, like, some pencil wall art.
Yeah, I
looks
can't...
like-
Black and white photo, maybe?
Or charcoal, like...
Yeah,
Drawing? I
maybe.
mean-
Oh, pillows. Yeah, not a whole lot going on.
Not 10 minutes had passed since leaving him in the drawing room. For Sojiro to shirk off what she said and visit her room so fast, it was like he had no sense of danger at all.
Well,
実は外に出たいんだ。
What?
Why?
Is there no bathroom in the house?
Of course he would ask to leave the house. Aoko lacked the energy for a sarcastic barb.
洋館の中は歩き回らないし、用を済ませたらきちんと戻ってくる。ただ門限とかあったら聞いておこうと思って。
でもアルバイトには行くのよね。
How did you know? He exclaimed in surprise. When it was Aoko who desired to display her shock at him.
まあいいわ。基本午後10時まで。その時間には必ず屋敷にいること。その後は夜勤に出かけるなり、庭でバーベキューするなり、何でも好きにしていい。
Do you really want him hosting barbecues in your garden?
I think she means by himself.
She was not clear on that.
Yeah.
Like, what you've just done here is given this man tacit approval to invite Tobimaru and that redheaded kid and the rest of his class over to your house for a barbecue.
Yeah.
それと玄関に鍵はかかってないから。
Oh boy. Well, I guess they do have barriers and stuff.
Ever since that time that I broke a guy's arm for following me home, nobody's bothered to follow me home, so we just leave the door unlocked. Makes it easier for the delivery guy when he shows up.
気のせいじゃなければだけど、青崎、すごく怒ってないか？
Just slightly.
あんた相手に気を使った自分に呆れ果ててるだけよ。
I'm not angry at all.
I'm just pissed off that I care what happens to you.
外に出るのはいいけど、その前にこの錠剤飲んで。
It's cyanide. Sojiro took the purple pill from her outstretched hand and dubiously put it in his mouth.
Sure is trusting.
He told himself that it must have been some kind of medicine.
I don't know why you would tell yourself that.
いろいろありがとう。
あっそ。今度は窓から出ていかないでよね。
Yeah.
Use the front door, dumbass. Sojiro laughed himself all the way to the foyer, unsure of what exactly he found funny. Aoko watched him go, both indifferent and amazed all at once.
ま、予定が半日早まっただけか。あの薬を飲ませるの、明日の朝にしてあげようと思ったのに。
Uh-huh.
She huffed, ruffling her hair in exasperation and returning to her room. Discerning what made Sojiro tick was a waste of brain matter. Are you gonna have problems at work when you get there because you just haven't shown up for like 3 days?
It's probably fine. He just doesn't get paid for the days he didn't show up.
In all likeliness, he was more concerned about missing 2 days of work than his own well-being after being bedridden for 2 days. Yeah, how's he supposed to afford his apartment if he doesn't go to work?
I don't think he needs to anymore.
I don't know if he knows that, though. With the day's work behind him, Sojiro returned to the mansion. Also, I suppose he probably should keep paying for it, because...
I mean, he's going to need somewhere to go after this is over.
Right, and he's not going to remember that he doesn't have an apartment.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he's going to have forgotten everything from the park onwards. So, like, if he doesn't maintain that, he's going to leave here from, from getting his memory wiped and just go back to the apartment that he doesn't have anymore.
Yeah, that might get awkward.
よし、どこを探しても2階のホールから上がれる階段はここだけだ。
Okay, so far so good.
It was just before midnight.
What happened at 10 o'clock?
This man is going to get stabbed. This was the scene that awaited him beyond the rickety staircase. Not much surprised Sojiro, or rather, being surprised had become normal to him. This scene, however, was enough to leave him speechless. The room allotted to Sojiro, no matter how he looked at it,
it's an attic.
No matter how he ran it through his mind, was, without a shadow of a doubt, an attic.
Yep. Is there even glass on that window?
Kinda doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
This treatment stirred a tinge of anxiety in him. Just as he was about to flop onto the taut sheets of his bed, wondering if he could make this work despite his share of other problems, he noticed an awkward courtesy, so meager as to be useless.
A blanket?
Oh, I thought the gift was the tiny sheet of paper for a second.
No, it's just the note on the blanket.
The message in the memo pointed to the meticulous personality of the author. The bed had been perfectly prepared. Carefully, setting aside the blanket that had been painstakingly placed on the edge of the bed for him in case he needed it, he looked up at the sky. Though faint, the stars twinkled through the skylight. For a mountain boy, that meager light was more than enough for him, and suddenly he lost the will to live. As happened the last time he looked through a skylight.
Oh.
The stark contrast with the drawing room had caught him off guard, but now that he'd collected himself, it wasn't so bad. This room fit his personality. Even if he was still not used to the building, he felt more at ease here than he did in any building in the city. Maybe because it was built on a hill, surrounded by woods.
That could be it.
The atmosphere here was a little closer to the mountains where he used to live.
でも、家の中に霧が出るのはどうなんだろう。
Probably not.
He crooked his neck, pondering over the spectacle he'd witnessed. On the way to his room, Sojiro had encountered what looked like fog in the foyer on the second floor.
The second floor? What the?
The misty fog drifted into a portion of the corridor, reminding him of a swarm of mosquitoes.
That sounds like some kind of tracking method or something.
As he stared at it, he swore he could make out a strange landscape, and as he moved closer to get a better look... Bird. Again, out of nowhere, here inside of the mansion, a little blue bird darted purposefully in front of him.
鳥?
The bird caught his attention, stopping him in his tracks. When he looked to check on the fog again, the strange scene had disappeared.
この家、隙間でもあるのかな?
No, I think that's something Alice made.
Hey Aoko, is it normal to have fog in your second floor? Is that how all buildings in the city are?
Specifically fog that looks like it goes to somewhere else.
Yeah, specifically fog that like goes to a reality marble or some garbage?
Yeah, it's like I can see a whole nother landscape in your hallway.
He muttered to himself as he sat on the bed. Meager as it was, the starlight peeping in through the skylight calmed him.
これなら。
Exhaling slowly, he laid down. For the time being, he had the essentials needed to live, and his bed was many times softer than it appeared.
Well, that's good.
Then again, in that he had assumed it was made of concrete, this was pretty much inevitable. Thinking his worries seemed smaller than they were, he quickly drifted off to sleep. That was the story of from when he opened his eyes to when he fell asleep.
That first day in the mansion, huh?
Just like that, the short night following the long night was over. For one thing was true. Sojiro was an optimist to a fault, but it wasn't the end of the world. Now, let's rewind 5 hours prior to this glutton for punishment going to bed.
Oh boy. Oh.
It was 7 o'clock in the evening, just after the unproductive discussion between the two mages and the boy had ended. Leaving her roommate and the intruder in the drawing room, the girl walked alone through the foyer. From there, she headed to the west wing. These were Alice Kuonji's personal chambers, in which even her roommate, Aoko Ozaki, seldom dared to step foot. The foyer was illuminated only by pale moonlight. Hard footsteps echoed through the dreary moonlit lobby. In such mansions in Japan, there was no custom for removing shoes at the door, because it was a Western
with
building
wooden floors instead of tatami.
Yeah. Hence, Alice crossed the foyer in her boots.
Huh.
She only removed them when she relaxed in her bedroom. Those foot fetishists weren't getting shit from her. Suddenly, she remembered something from her childhood. Why did I think that said clipboard for a second?
I could not tell you.
She used to enjoy the feeling of the cold hardwood floor on her bare feet, and would walk around the foyer on particularly sunny days. After her father affectionately scolded her for it, she never did it again.
Huh.
And compulsively wore boots everywhere she went that wasn't her bedroom.
Weird.
Damn foot-shaming father, apparently.
そうだったわね。青子は結局守らなかった。
To wear shoes in the house?
To not wear shoes?
Like she bothers to wear shoes to not get the floor dirty? I'm a little confused there.
She let out a quiet sigh. Alice's new roommate, whom she took on after coming to Japan, would not comply with her instructions.
落ち着かないものはしょうがない。
Nice sweater.
Aoko would say, changing into her... Oh, yeah, she's doing the Japanese thing.
Yeah, okay.
She's checking her shoes at the door.
Yeah.
And Alice is like, stop that.
Right, it's like, no, house slippers.
Aoko might have found it natural to do so, given that she lived in a typical Japanese house through middle school, but every time Alice heard her flip-flopping through the foyer, she wanted to cancel their cohabitation.
The sound of the slippers, because they don't stay on like regular shoes.
By now, Alice was not particularly bothered by it anymore. Human adaptability was remarkable at times and ungracious at times. The emotional attachments of the past had proved far too brittle under the weight of reality. A little bluebird was perched on the banister. Its tiny chirping made Alice stop and look its way.
今夜は放っておくわ。今は青子の問題よ。
Hmm.
The lack of feeling in her voice made the bird tilt its head as it sang. It trilled as though questioning its master's uncharacteristic leniency.
約束は約束よ。今夜ぐらいは多めに見ないと。
For tonight.
He lives for today.
Yeah,
青子
wow.
と彼はそれだけの活躍をしたのだし。
They did kill my moon.
Well.
And I have to give them respect for that, I guess. She said to the bird, her voice betraying her discontent. If you win, I'll let you go. She would keep that promise, in spite of the unquenchable desire to fight that burned in her chest.
Yeah.
でも、その後の処遇は別の話。
I didn't say I'd let them live forever.
Right.
条件付きのゲームに勝ったぐらいで、いつまでも得意げでいられるのは心外だわ。
She will have her revenge.
Perhaps it was perfectionism born of fastidiousness, but, despite her prim demeanor, Alice Kuonji was a sore loser. It didn't matter to her whose magecraft was superior. Losing the game had proven hard to move on from. The little bird fluttered its wings in agreement. Drinking in Alice's contempt, it was itching to dive-bomb the invader. It looked like a soldier saluting a superior officer as it preened itself. The bluebird turned to face its master. Its light-hearted tweeting seemed to display a desire to deal with Sojiro first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Got little stars on it.
It does have little stars on it.
理由さえできたのなら、瓶なり本なりに入ってもらいましょう。
Yeah.
Except her words lacked any bite. On the face of it, they were the chilling kind one might come to expect from a witch's lips, but then again, so tame as to remind you of a certain robin's flapping.
しばらくの話よ。けど、それも一時だけ。私の我慢も長くは続かないし。だいたい、青子も人にかまけていられる立場じゃないわ。いつかもすれば思い知るでしょう。そうすれば。
When that time came, expelling him would be simple. Alice was well aware her roommate was a pragmatist with no vision. The situation she'd created would allow her to wait around. She could only afford to protect that boy for 3 or 4 days at most. Beyond that, Alice sensed Aoko would crack and say something like, "You take care of this, Alice."
それまで待つか。あるいは、私の我慢が効かなくなるか。 どちらにしても結果は変わらないわ。
Well, you almost lost your patience.
Alice Kimonji would suffer no more irritations. And protecting a witness, let alone allowing them to live in her mansion, was an indignity. Alice looked up, fascinated by the dense fog that had crawled into the foyer. Above the fireplace was a single mirror. Roughly 3 feet in diameter, it decorated the wall where one might find a painting. Its surface was faintly clouded and vaguely reflected the foyer's appearance.
スナークをなくした影響でしょうね。鏡の機能、しばらくは制御できないみたい。
Huh.
The little bird joyfully chirped at its master's mumbling. The bird attempted to imply that there was no need for her to lift a finger, not if the nuisance would fall into the mirror of his own accord. Or perhaps, had the little bird not sang, Alice would have come to the same conclusion. For some reason, she recalled an earlier conversation.